The Sims, a series that needs no introduction, but I will give it one nonetheless. It is a lovable franchise where we get to make virtual characters and live out our dreams through them, or perform experiments by keeping them in rooms without doors so that they starve, or take out the ladders from the pool so that they can't get out. It is difficult to imagine that all of this came about from a tragedy. In 1991, Will Wright lost his home to the Oakland Firestorm and he had to rebuild his life all over again. This inspired him to develop a game based on the idea of a virtual dollhouse. He wanted it to be similar to SimCity and have the focus be on individual people instead. This is a quote made by Wright. I think when I started doing games, I really wanted to carry that to the next step, to the player, so that you give the player a tool so that they can create things, and then you give them some sort of context for that creation. You know what it is, what kind of world does it live in, what's its purpose, what are you trying to do with this thing that you're creating, to really put the player in the design role, and the actual world is reactive to their design. This idea would eventually evolve into The Sims, which was based on Will Wright's experience rebuilding and furnishing his home. At first, the board of Maxis was not interested in his idea, but Wright found an unlikely publisher in Electronic Arts who was impressed by Wright's work on SimCity and saw potential for the Sims franchise. Yeah, that EA, the one which shut down Visual Studios, Westwood Studios, Black Box Games, among many others, and with them took down so many beloved franchises. EA published The Sims in February 2000 and it became Wright's biggest success at the time. It eventually surpassed Myst as the best-selling computer game of all time and spawned with it numerous expansion packs and spin-offs. By November 2006, the Sims franchise had earned EA more than $1 billion. Let's talk about the features that made The Sims so successful. Gameplay-wise, unlike other games of the generation, The Sims had no objectives. This kind of open-ended gameplay was not as common as it is nowadays. The players can choose from pre-made households or make their own. After that, the player creates the narrative and the dynamics for the family and chooses their goal. Whether that goal be success for the family or just to mess around by imploding the relationships around them is up to the player to decide. Players can also modify their personality by assigning skill points to the different categories consisting of neat, outgoing, active, playful, and nice. A bio can also be added. After character creation, we will be required to move to a lot. We can do so by purchasing one with the 20,000 simoleons that the game gives us. After we have purchased a lot, this is where the main game begins. The game offers 3 modes: live, build, and buy. Depending on the lot we choose, we may have to build the house our Sims live in. In build mode, we can build a house from scratch and make alterations to the terrain. The build mode is grid based, so usually everything we build falls into place most of the time and it won't take too long to build a house. Now we get to the fun part, buy mode. The Sims has over 100 items that we can buy and use at our disposal. There is a bit of everything to satisfy the shopaholic in all of us, from furniture to electronics. After being done with the shopping spree, we can finally enter the live mode and control our Sims and their daily activities. We have to keep the Sims' needs in check by performing various day-to-day activities. The needs are hunger, comfort, social, fun, hygiene, bladder, energy, and room. You may be aware of every need from the current Sims games, but room and comfort are the odd ones out. Room refers to the quality of the room the Sim is currently in. The need for comfort can be met by sitting or lying down. We have to keep the needs at suitable levels, otherwise there will be consequences. Having low fun can cause your Sim to have depression, and low energy level can cause them to pass out. Like in the current games, managing needs is a constant thing we have to keep in mind. The Sims can also enter careers and use objects in the world to obtain skills, which will then help them advance in their careers. The Sims needs jobs in order to pay the bills, and missing work several days in a row will get them fired. A Sim can have careers in one of 10 categories, including medical, law enforcement, and criminal. Next, let's move on to children. If the household has children, then they will have to go to school. If they get Fs for 7 consecutive days, then they will be sent to military school, never to be seen again. Fs in the chat, everyone. Even though there are no win-lose conditions in the game, There are technically ways we can lose. This involves the Sims dying from things such as starvation and electrocution. However, even if the Sims die and the children get sent to military school or taken by social workers, the lot will still be playable. This is haunting and the repercussions makes us want to take the game seriously. The Sims will most of the time not ignore the player's commands, although there will be times they will not listen due to free will. This is an intended game mechanic by the developers. However, this issue can be rectified by spamming commands until the Sims eventually do them. Now let's talk about some things that the original Sims lacked in comparison to the latest Sim games. First off, babies can turn into children but they can't grow up into adults in the base game of The Sims. There are also no weekends and the Sims have to attend work or school every day. Current day corporations would have loved this idea in today's world. Most of these issues are rectified in later sequels. Let us also talk about Simlish. The entries to the Sims games has always featured them talking in Simlish. This was done so that the dialogue did not become boring and repetitive. I have to say that this did work because in all of the Sims games that I have played, I have never found their banter repetitive and boring. The base game was quite a hit, and with it came many expansion packs, some of the more important ones being The Sims Living Large, which was the first expansion pack released for The Sims. The pack includes new characters, careers, items, and features. This expansion pack is also part of The Sims Deluxe Edition and later compilations of the core game. The game features new NPCs such as Servo, the Tragic Clown, and the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper performs the final rites for deceased Sims. Living Sims can plead with the Reaper to save that particular Sim, which will result in 3 possible outcomes: death, resurrection, or a zombie. Ever since then, the Grim Reaper has become a staple in other Sims games. Living Large became the United States' 6th best-selling computer game of 2000. Living Large remained the 6th highest computer selling game ever in the year 2001, with domestic sales of 818,600 units and revenues of 22.9 million that year alone. The Sims Unleashed is the 5th expansion pack released for The Sims. The pack introduces cats and dogs into the game. The pack also introduces farming and gardening and expands the original 10-lot neighborhood into over 40 lots, with the added ability to rezone these lots for residential or community use. Community lots can also be modified to shops, cafes, and other commercial establishments. Unleashed received the award for the Computer Simulation Game of the Year during the 6th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards. The Sims Making Magic is the 7th and final expansion pack released for The Sims. The pack introduces magic to the game and allows Sims to cast spells, forge charms, and buy alchemical ingredients. The pack introduces the Magic Town neighborhood as well as Magic Town lots, which house vendors of magical ingredients and items and a number of magic-related minigames. The Sims has really addictive gameplay that will make you play more and more with each passing day in the game world. The original game has left a legacy that will not be easily forgotten and can still hold up to the new games to a certain extent. The Sims 2 and Sims 3 would not be what they were had it not been for the foundations of this game. Maxis may just be a shell of what it was, but the legacy that it left behind will always be remembered, along with Will Wright, who contributed so much to the franchise in the early start. He was able to realize his vision and dream of making a game world which was not only interactive but reactive to the player. I commend Wright for his positive outlook during such a situation such as a house fire. Without Wright, I would not have been able to enjoy countless hours in the world of Sims. Thank you for watching and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Also, hit the like button if you enjoy the series and give me suggestions on which game or which franchise you would like me to cover next. See you in the next one.